Yes boys, it's Erdtree and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be doing some more invasions on my Chaos Maker build, only I've made a couple more tweaks to it. The first one being is that I've got a new weapon on the build in the barbed staff spear. This build has got 60 faith and 60 intelligence, so the spear is taking advantage of my 60 faith as it scales with faith. I'm also using the Staff of the Great Beyond on this one now, and as we know it's a new staff in the DLC which allows us to use both spells and incantations, so I'll put a few incantations on the build to mix things up even more in the invasions. I've still got the Sword of the Night and Flame on the build because I just absolutely love it, and now I'm also using the Phlox Canvas Talisman as well as the Graven Mass Talisman to boost the damage on both my sorceries and my incantations. Anyway, that's it guys, so let's see how we get on in the invasions. So we're against this tricky trio for our first invasion on the Chaos Maker. Now this is the final form of the Chaos Maker. I'm not going to tweak it anymore after this, but it's took me a few videos to get here as I've been tweaking it slowly as I've been going along. There's so much potential in the DLC to tweak your builds and add things and change them. I don't see any point in just doing it all at once and then blasting through a load of invasions and just like burning out on that build. I just think do it gradually, add little things as you go along. You know, do a few invasions, add something else, do a few more invasions, add something else, and see how it feels. You can feel it out as you're going along. That's kind of my approach with what I've done with this build, and over the last few videos using this one I've kind of adapted it to where it is now, and I'm actually really happy with it. You can see there some use of the new weapon, the barbed staff spear. Now the Ash of War on that one is the Jory's Inquisition. It's not that good, to be honest. It's not as good as it looks. It looks like it should be an absolute beast of an Ash of War, but it's not amazing. They can easily dodge it. It doesn't do a load of damage. It doesn't really stun them in place for much of it, so you know they can easily roll away. But it's very stylish and it suits the chaotic nature of the build, so I just thought I'd give it a go, and I do quite like the playstyle with it. I like using great spears. As it is a great spear, it's staying on the build, and you know I can always switch it out for the Rellana's twin blades, which I've actually removed from the build for these invasions because I just wanted to focus on this staff, on the spear, sorry, that I'm using now, and see how it feels. So yeah, for these invasions I'm using the barbed staff spear and the Sword of the Night and Flame, but then I can also in the future mix either of those two out, switch either of those two out for the Rellana's twin blades, as I see fit, just for a bit of variation. You can see in these invasions as well that I'm also making some good use of the incantations that I've now got on the build. Before this video I was just using spells and doing some mix up with the new spells that we've got in the DLC, but since this staff's come out, the Staff of the Great Beyond, it's an absolutely awesome staff and it allows us to use both spells and incantations, so that means it's opened the gates wide open for some really creative combinations. You don't just have to stick to spells, you can mix some incantations in with it as well and get some really cool offense going with your spell casting. You can see I put incantations on such as Giant's Flame Tatey that I'm using now. I've got the Ancient Dragon's Lightning Strike, and I've also got the Giant Golden Arc on there, all of which are really cool for mixing in with my other spells and adding to the chaos of the invasion, which this build is all about. You get some good damage returns on this staff as well. It scales really well with 60 faith and 60 intelligence, so overall we're doing some good damage with our spells, good damage with our incantations, and the staff, I keep calling it a staff, it's not a staff is it, it's a giant spear. It's a great spear, Erdtree, it's not a staff, but either way the spear is doing some okay damage. I'm not getting as much damage out of it as I was with Rellana's twin blades when I was using those. They scale a lot better with my int and faith scaling, whereas this only scales with the faith, so I'm getting a bit less damage with it, but you know it's just good for variation. And as I said, you know I can always put the Rellana's twin blades back on and mix things up. The three main weapons on this build now are this spear that I'm using, Rellana's twin blades, and then I've still got the Sword of the Night and Flame. It's a bit lighter than the Rellana's twin blades, so I can use it alongside the spear, but if I tried to put Rellana's twin blades on there as well as this spear, it's a little bit heavy and I've got to change my armour to accommodate it. and I don't want to complicate things too much, you know. So I think moving forward, when I'm using this build, I'll either use the spear or Relana's twin blades, and then have the Sword of the Night and Flame alongside either of those two. This was a really cool invasion. You can see I was against a tough gank initially, but these two decided not to go into the boss fight and they stayed outside to fight me, and it's turned into a proper war against this host. I managed to take his summon out earlier, but he's putting up a really good fight. He's doing some good damage. He was using the Bloodhound Step earlier, was making things really hard for me, but I managed to get some clutch healing off with the putrid meat that I had in my inventory. I healed the poison, topped my heals up, and then I went at it again, and I was lucky enough to kill the host. But either way, that would have been a great invasion. Really good fight on that one. Proper fun, really fun invasion. Something you will notice in this video, unfortunately, is that, you know, the invasions at the minute, it's tough, man. The invasions at the minute are really tough. There just seems to be a hell of a lot of fog wall invasions, and it's becoming a real problem. I've spoke to a few people, asked around, and everyone seems to be noticing it. Fog wall invasions are becoming a real problem. It's like 1 out of 10 invasions might be, you know, a decent invasion, but it's not a fog wall. You're just invading at fog walls constantly, and it's just a flip of the coin whether the group turn around to fight you or whether they just go into the boss fight, and then you're sent back to your world to do it all again. I don't know what's going on. Level 200 has usually been pretty reasonable for having you know, organic invasions. There's never been too many fog walls, but it just seems in the last few days the fog wall invasions have become absolutely insane, and it's just yeah, it's making things really difficult. So I'm hoping they improve over the next few days, but we'll see how it goes. So you will notice in this video that a lot of the invasions were at fog walls, where the groups have luckily decided to turn around and fight me rather than just leave me twiddling my thumbs to go back to my own world and try again for another invasion. That last one was a nice one-on-one there, and now I've spawned into the original area of the DLC here, the Gravesite Plains, and I've got this fight against this duo. So luckily for me, it's not a fog wall on this one, so I can fight these two out in this long grass, see what happens. This was actually one of my first invasions using this new weapon, so I weren't really, you know, I didn't really have the hang of it proper. I was still kind of finding my feet. But it was a good invasion, good fight against these two. Now, like I say, you know, I was just glad it weren't a fog wall. I actually love invading out in these Gravesite Plains, these open fields amongst all this long grass and these graves everywhere. I think it's such a cool setting for a fight. Something out of a film. It looks like a film set, you know what I mean? It looks so cool. One of my favourite areas in the whole game to invade. I think moving forward after this video, I've decided to take my next build into the DLC. Once again, you know, I don't want to give anything away. I don't want to say which build it is, but I've got plans. There was a build in my arsenal that I weren't really happy with where it was previously to the DLC coming out. I didn't know what to do with it. It was feeling really weak, and I'd lost a bit of faith in it, in that particular build. So I've decided that that's going to be the one to go into the DLC next, and I'm going to completely reinvigorate that build. I'm going to give it a full-on makeover. If all goes to plan, you know, if what I'm thinking kind of plays out and everything works out as I want it to, I've got plans to completely reinvigorate that build and improve it, you know, far beyond where it was before. Like I say, this particular build, I weren't happy with it, so it seems like a really good excuse to take that one into the DLC and try and give it a breath of fresh air. I've got some plans, but like I say, you never know if your plans are going to fully play out, but we'll just see what happens. Now look at this guy, where was he going in such a rush? That proper made me laugh in this invasion. I spawned in, I've got this big golden bird just running at me. Now this isn't exactly a successful invasion, but I've included it in the video just because there's a really funny moment that happens. Look at this summon, just swift slashing his little heart away. He's being really aggressive. He's a white mask Schmeagle. He thinks he's the absolute man, just spamming that L2 button. But watch this, guys, watch this. Get him out into the open, and all of a sudden, swift slash ain't that reliable, is it? Look at that, what an absolute little Schmeagle. I love it, guys. But the other summon in this invasion starts using these impenetrable thorns, and man, I absolutely despise this spell. This spell is everywhere, and it's the most spammable thing I think I've ever seen, and it's horrible to fight against. I absolutely hate it. I kind of knew at this point that this is just what this invasion was going to be, so I kind of just went balls to the wall. I went in there a little bit, and I thought I'd just try and make something happen, but he's another white mask Schmeagle there. Look at him, he thinks he's really good, but he's an absolute Schmeag, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's a white mask Schmeag. And look at this, how random is this? I spawned into Limgrave here, you know, Church of Ella there. And what are you doing here, Melania? You're in the wrong area, my darling. You need to get to the Erdtree. You don't live here. Are you lost? What are you doing? You're using all of Melania's moves, but you're not being effective with hardly any of them. I like your style though, I like the effort. Fair play. Fair play to you, sir. Anyway guys, this is the last invasion of the video, a bit of a shorter one today. So yeah, keep your eyes on the channel guys. Like I say, I'm going to be busting out a new build relatively soon, and we'll see what happens from there moving forward. But I hope you're all enjoying things still. Like I say, invasions have been a bit up and down with fog walls lately, but let's just keep an eye on things and see how we get on, and hopefully they improve rather than get worse. They can only improve, to be honest, because it's been pretty bad over the last couple of days. But anyway guys, look after yourselves, look after each other. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Take it easy, and I'll see you all on the next one.